Hi, my name is Aretha Greatrix, and this is the Dreamspeakers digital series. I'm the program director at Dreamspeakers Festival Society, and I'm also a filmmaker. I produced my first film in 2014, a documentary on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada and residential schools called Journey Towards Reconciliation. And we finished the project in 2016, and since then we put it in film festivals all around the world, and I couldn't have done that without the help of my mentors. And I've come to the realization that not every filmmaker has mentors, and so I wanted to share with you 5 tips that I have learned about submitting films into film festivals. Timeline for submissions. So when entering a film festival, you generally have about 2 years that you can submit films into film festivals. And it's really important because it's a good idea to know which film festivals are out there and which ones you want to submit to. And I would actually look up these film festivals even before your project is finished. I would even look at these film festivals when you're producing or even developing your project. Another way you can figure that out is by using applications or searching that online. I like to use Film Freeway, which has a list of a lot of film festivals around the world and also has their deadlines and submission criteria. So tip number 2, read the submission criteria. This is very important. This will tell you whether or not your film meets the requirements to submit to this film festival. And because we're entering into a digital age, a lot of film festivals actually don't accept films that have been posted online or broadcasted in any way. So you want to make sure that you know the submission criteria before you submit, because this will determine whether or not your film is accepted into the film festival. For example, Dreamspeakers is an Indigenous film festival, and one of the requirements that we have is that you have to have an Indigenous person in a key creative role. And one of the things that we do to help define what Indigenous means is we actually borrowed the definition from the United Nations on what Indigenous means. And so we post that on our website, on our criteria. And still a lot of people have been submitting films that aren't Indigenous or have an Indigenous person in that key creative role. And unfortunately, their film is disqualified. And so that's why it's so important to know which festivals you want and also research them so you can answer those questions. And so once you read the criteria, if there's something that you don't understand, you can contact the film festival. And it's very important to ask these questions right away. A lot of periods during the year that they're really busy. This could be deadlines, this could be the actual, when their festival is actually on. And if you try to ask questions during those times, you most likely will not get an answer right away. So number 3 is have a plan of action. I'm a visual person, so I like to create a Google Calendar that has a list of all the festivals that I'm interested in, when their deadlines are and when they're happening, so you can kind of see which festivals overlap, and also will give me a plan of action for when I am ready to submit into film festivals, when the deadlines are. And it's important to know when the deadlines are because a lot of these festivals have early submission deadlines, and if you submit during those times, usually the fees are at a discounted rate. So it's very important to know when those are. Tip number 4 is budgeting. I would consider putting in your budget for your project for fees for submitting into film festivals, but also possibly even traveling to the film festivals themselves. You can apply for grants to travel, but it's also nice to just kind of consider who you want to send or things like that. So it's good to budget for those things. And film festivals really differ for how much submission fees are. And so you want to make sure that you know which ones you want to submit to. And of course, there are some festivals that have free submissions. Some festivals offer waiver codes, which will waive the fee for submitting into the film festival. And it really depends on the person and the festival, but some people don't when you ask for waiver fees. I know Dreamspeakers, we actually advertise that we will offer a waiver fee because we don't want the cost of submitting a film into a film festival to be a barrier for the artist. But some people won't appreciate you asking for a waiver. So it really depends on the festival. Tip number 5, consider awards and national and international releases. You can submit into as many festivals as you want. And this is why it's so important to know when the festivals are and when the deadlines are. Because once you submit into a film festival, let's say the film festival that you really, really, really want to have a national release, you get accepted and they are the first ones that get to say, this is the national release of your film. So that's why it's so important to know which festivals you want to submit to. The only thing that you want to consider is that you do have a 2-year window to then submit into that film festival, but a lot of film festivals will have themes that might not continue on to the next year, or some of the festivals might only happen every 2 years. So that's something you want to consider if you're going to withdraw your submission. So if you also want to be considered for awards, there are festivals that are award qualifying festivals. For example, Dreamspeakers is a Canadian Screen Award qualifying festival, and if your film gets accepted into 2 of these festivals, you then can now submit your application to be nominated for a Canadian Screen Award. And if you want to know which film festivals are award qualifying, you can look them up on Film Freeway, as they have little icons next to the film festivals if they are award qualifying festivals. So these are a few tips that I have learned along the way as being a filmmaker and working in the industry. And don't worry if you only get into one film festival, because as an industry person working for a film festival, we also attend other film festivals and also network with each other. So chances are that if you are in another film festival, after your film is screened, you most likely will be approached by other festivals who want to see your show in their film festival, or might email you afterwards. So don't worry, even if you only submit to one film festival and get in, you still could be invited to other film festivals after.